Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.
Hello, welcome. It's another edition of the Bmore Baseball Podcast. I'm Jerry Coleman. He's the Orioles Hall of Famer, the 14-year veteran. It's Mike Bordick. And if you haven't noticed, we're putting up brand new content on our podcasts, on X, on Instagram, on Facebook. Find us now at the Bmore Ball Pod, the Bmore Ball Pod. On YouTube, it's Bmore Ball Pod. When you follow us and show us evidence that you're following us, you qualify for a $50 gift card from Lido Pizza. Today, it's episode 19. Bordy will be joined by legendary Baltimore filmmaker, Academy Award-winning director Barry Levinson will join us. Huge Orioles fan, of course. We'll talk about, well, watching position players have to pitch or being no hit. What's worse? And we'll reflect on the death of the Cobra, Dave Parker. What a great career he had. And Dr. Michael Jacobs weighs in on the latest Orioles starter to go down. But let's bring in our featured guest. He is sponsored by Pappas Seafood. From crab cakes to seafood classics, they will deliver straight to your door. 4 locations in the Baltimore area, plus nationwide shipping. Order today at pappascrabcakes.com. They even deliver out to Los Angeles, where Barry Levinson is. Barry, really appreciate you taking the time and joining the podcast.
No, not at all. Thanks. Good to see you guys.
Yeah.
You too. Thank you so much.
Bordick, since all of you got with a hat on your head that said Orioles that long ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we know you're a huge Orioles fan, lifelong. Let's get your thoughts on this year's team, currently mired in last place after making the playoffs the last 2 years. Your feelings about the way things have gone.
Oh boy, it's a disaster. Is all I can say. It's hard to, but it's also very hard to understand. I mean, for them to be, having no hitters against them the 6th or 7th inning before they get a hit, it just seems inconceivable to me that they can be. It's one thing if you're not scoring well, but if you don't get a hit for 7 innings on, I don't know, 3-4 games so far this year,
like in a week. Yeah, very, very concerning. And the Orioles, of course, their offense one story, but their pitching another story.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, plus the fact that, I have to say this, I've never seen a team with that many injuries, and a lot of them don't make sense to me. Maybe you guys understand it better than I. I'm not an expert in any of it, but the amount of pulled muscles and all of that seems something I never heard of that often in the past. Maybe I'm wrong, but lat injuries and all that, you go, I don't quite understand it.
Well, we kind of understand it a little bit, and I'll tell you, since the advent or the overtaking, I guess I should say, of analytics, they've really tried to put that into every part of their game. So it's now turned into a max effort game instead of a finesse and artful game. These pitchers are just getting on everything they do to try to create maximum spin on everything they throw. And that's led to more arm injuries. And I think the same thing holds true even on the offensive side and defensive side. I think they're trying to get players to be the perfect player instead of understanding the importance of health and 162 games and the skill work being the true priority.
If you see, I've seen some of this old, footage of ball players in the past, and they're very loosey-goosey when they were throwing the ball around, and they were very, just sort of loose in general with the way they would play compared to nowadays. And the other part is, I don't understand what is the difference, or why does it matter the velocity that the ball is coming off the bat? I don't quite get that. And like if it's 103 miles an hour, if it's 83 miles an hour, if it's a hit, it's a hit. So
amen
I don't know
to
why.
that. Amen, man. The numbers, man, that's it. Every player is chasing a number now, and that's unfortunate. And I think you're losing, or we're kind of losing, the true essence of what baseball is really all about. And that's understanding a human, trying to get the most out of them, the repetition that comes in the game, the skill, the situation. The beauty of the game is truly like the chess match and how it's orchestrated throughout. So, I think it's being missed right now, but, everything kind of comes back around, doesn't it?
Hopefully. All I know is I've been watching most of the games this year, and you just see it. It's very, very sad in a way. I mean, to see at times where the team can hit, and then some days, they hit 6 home runs and win, 18 or 20 or by that kind of a thing. You say the extremes seem out of whack in a way. It's one thing if a team is basically not hitting that well, but here you see these ups and downs that seem, at least to my understanding, I don't quite get.
Yeah, well, I think also true too is the fact when you chase a number and you're working on one certain swing, you become more robotic and you lose the ability to make adjustments. And that is truly what Major League Baseball is all about, because I think the skill set, everybody's pretty close at the top. And then who can make the adjustments the quickest and be the most consistent? And I think now more than ever, you're not seeing the consistency at the highest level.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
And Barry, we were talking before the podcast, one of the newest injuries that, again, I said to you, for the first 40 years of my life, I never heard of an oblique injury. Adley Rutschman is now dealing with it. There's a litany of guys that are dealing with it. And that was kind of curious to you as well.
No, I don't quite get it. I mean, it's one thing if you keep building muscle, it's easier for the muscle to basically break down because you're going from just standing there to running as fast as you can to first base. You know what I mean? And so the ball players in the past were much looser, as I say, when I looked at some of the old footage of how they would flip the balls around and they played like infield practice. They were much looser than they are nowadays. And I think they just get to be too muscle bound in a way that it's very easy for something to snap. I mean, I'm not a doctor in any of these areas, but I've never seen the amount of injuries that are muscle related.
Yeah, it's been an incredible balancing point. Ever since I actually came into baseball, I came up with the Oakland A's. And of course, the Oakland A's are kind of famous or infamous for being a part of the steroid era. But weight training started to come in right at the end of the 80s. And it was still considered exactly what you're saying. If you lift weights, you're going to get too muscle bound and you're not going to be as loose and free in the game. And man, back then, guys were throwing 300 innings. I mean, Jim Palmer doing what he did. I mean, it was a completely different game. And I totally agree with you. And since the late 80s, there has been a constant head bashing between the training room and strength and conditioning. And I think it's even gotten worse nowadays because, like I said earlier, they're trying to make the perfect athlete and not the lasting athlete. And unfortunately, I think they're creating just way too much turnover and not as beautiful a game, I think, as it used to be.
I don't seem to hear much about that. I haven't seen, many articles written about it or the discussions about the training that they do nowadays compared to the past. I would love to see the statistics of how many injuries to a ball club compared to today in terms of these kinds of, muscle injuries that are taking place. I don't know if there's a statistic that shows that.
There is.
Is there?
There absolutely is. They came out with a study in this past winter because of the amount of injuries in Major League Baseball, specifically the Tommy John surgeries that were happening to pitchers, and a straight result of overuse and max effort. So, even when pitchers throw bullpens now, they try to get maximum spin rate, and that's what's kind of setting them back in the injury side. And I think the same holds true with the position players. And now some of these injuries that guys are the soft muscle tissue injuries that they're getting. There are more hamstrings now, and now an oblique pops up again. So, yeah, that kind of stuff.
What do you think will happen? Do you think there's going to be a transition away from what they're doing now? Because it certainly doesn't seem to be positive.
Well, it's not sustainable. So I would hope Major League Baseball or a team would take it upon themselves. Do you want healthy players? Do you want good baseball players or not? So an adjustment definitely has to be made. And I'm not saying not to lift in Major League Baseball. I just think a training has to be adjusted. And these guys definitely need to do more skill work because along with all the injuries, there are more errors in the game as well.
Yeah, Barry, you're such an avid watcher of this team. Is there one player in particular that you like to follow or a couple of different players that maybe are personal favorites of yours that you like to check how they're doing in terms of the box score, or just, keeping an eye on their results?
Not really. I mean, I look at it in terms of, a team effort. And I mean, there's certain, players like O'Hearn, say, I mean, he really has come into his own. There are a few of those guys. So the Henderson is, getting better as the year goes on, started slowly. But I don't have any particular player that's, my favorite, as it were. I remember, this is like a totally crazy, years and years ago when I was a kid, we used to find out when the visiting team would come to Baltimore, and we would go down to the hotel where they would, show up. And I went with my cousin Eddie, who was a big Yankee fan, and I didn't like the Yankees at all. But I was there with my autograph book, and they're getting off the plane. So Bill Skowron gets out, and I just can't have Bill Skowron in my book. And then Yogi Berra gets off, and now I can't have Yogi Berra. Mickey Mantle. Now I just can't do it. I can't have his autograph in my book.
Oh my gosh.
I did not get one signature from any of the Yankees because I was so like a Baltimore kid that the idea of having the Yankees of all teams in my autograph book, I couldn't handle it back then. I think around the age of 14, I believe.
That's great.
I bet you got to deal with a lot of Yankee fans. With some of your big shot Hollywood friends are probably diehard Yankee fans. Are there any back and forth with on a regular basis?
No, but there's not a lot of Baltimore fans that I've met out here. I can say that much. Interesting.
I have a question. I'm going to stay baseball stuff, and I know we'll stay in the American League East because this question it sticks out to me, especially with some of your awesome movies. One being The Natural, that is so close to my heart, of course. But so Curt Schilling, a few years ago, had the bloody sock on the mound playing against those damn Yankees, right? And I thought, honest to God, oh my gosh, Roy Hobbs had the bloody jersey. Is Schilling, is he doing that wag the tail kind of thing right now? Is that what he's doing out there? Do you think that was a stunt, or was that actually real?
No, I think that's all quite real. I think if Vin Scully announced when Gibson hit that home run, and I think the line was something like the improbable. It was something about the improbable is met with the impossible in terms of that, as he was heading around the bases. And Vin Scully had such a dramatic way of handling those things. And I'm not doing justice to the line that he said. It was better than what I'm just telling you. But those things do happen. Back when The Natural came out, there were some reviews that say, well, if he had that problem, he wouldn't be bleeding that way, because I had digestive issues and it was like, and one of the things about in sports in general, the so-called impossible does happen over and over again. And that's what makes it so magical that we're out there, because you go, oh my God, that's unbelievable, which is part of the excitement of it. But some of the critics, when that movie originally came out, and said, well, it's not really, true enough to the game. And you go, well, it's a fantasy. It is a fantasy. The film was, and it plays out that way. But in it, there are those magical moments that happen on any given day in a baseball season. And that's what makes it so, I guess, not only inviting, but is what gets us to the next game. What's going to happen? Are they going to turn it around? Is so-and-so going to continue the hitting streak? All of those things are, and those statistics are all part of the fun of going to the game and watching it on TV and just being an avid fan.
Yeah, I love it. You captured so much, I think, of the true baseball fan in that movie. I got to know this. So when Wonder Boy broke, I don't know if it was ever said what type of wood that was in the movie. Could that have possibly been the first maple bat in baseball, or was that like an oak or an ash or something like that?
Yeah, good question. It came from whatever that tree was on his property.
Okay,
That's
so we don't know what it was?
Who knows what it was.
It could be the first maple bat back then in the natural. I love it.
That's true. That's true.
Predicting the future. Yeah.
Hey, Barry, I did want to ask you, because when Mike played for the Orioles, you were actually part of the ownership group. What is your level of involvement with the team these days? I don't know if you have any type of relationship with David Rubenstein, but
no, I did. I originally, bought shares when the team was taken over, in the early '90s, and so I bought shares and had it for all those years, and which was interesting because the team went through all these ups and downs, etc. And but when this ownership took over, it was like, well, if about how much if you sell your shares and how many shares you're going to sell, or all the shares or whatever. But it was very just business-like. It wasn't particularly, I'd say, sort of really congenial and just talking and enthusiasm at all. So it was just pure business-wise. So I ultimately decided, well, if I don't have any kind of real, connection, then I might as well just take my shares out. So I kept just a few, just so I can just have that in a way, but not a real connection to the owner now.
when was the last time you were at an Orioles game in person, if I may ask?
Gosh, it's been quite a while. It's probably, I think maybe 2 years or so. One of the great exciting times was when, Ripken was going to, in terms of the game and, and all of that, break the record, the Lou Gehrig record. And I was there, and Joe DiMaggio was at the game, and I was walking to get the seat. And he said, "Why don't you sit down, And I'd always heard he was sort of very kind of, didn't like to talk to people. And so I didn't want to really impose on him at all. But he started talking to me about things and Lou Gehrig and all of that. I'm going, my God, I'm sitting next to Joe DiMaggio. He's telling me some of these stories and everything else. And then he actually pulled out these index cards, and it was basically what he was going to say, after the game. And I looked it over, and I said to him, Joe, I think if you do this in a not just some kind of a speech, but just a sort of an intimate way to the big crowd, and your connection to Gehrig, I think that would be enough. I think what you have here is very good, but just let it be as natural as it possibly can. And so he said, "Oh, that's a good point, and so it was amazing. I mean, you're seeing Ripken setting the record, and I'm sitting next to Joe DiMaggio. I go, I'm in baseball heaven today. I'm absolutely in baseball heaven."
More of the Bmore Baseball Podcast coming right up. At Pappas Restaurants, we've been serving up Maryland's best crab cakes for over 5 decades, and now we make it easier than ever to get your favorites. With 4 restaurants and sports bar locations across Harford County, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County, you can stop in for fresh seafood, ice-cold drinks, and wall-to-wall TVs. But if you can't make it in, don't worry. We'll bring Pappas to you. Our new state-of-the-art shipping and commissary location on Bel Air Road in Nottingham means you can pick up fresh-made meals or have our famous crab cakes and seafood shipped anywhere in the country. Dine in, pick up, or ship nationwide. However you Pappas, we've got you covered. Order now at pappascrabcakes.com. Shop Maryland's largest adult use and medical cannabis menu, located at 1114 Cathedral Street in Baltimore, with medical delivery available throughout Maryland 7 days a week. Only at Relief Shop.
Hello, my name is Reese Friedman, and I'm the daughter of Stephen L. Friedman and Rachel Friedman, and the granddaughter of Michael A. Friedman. Now, the Law Office of Michael Friedman's firm has been going on for over 35 years. If you or a loved one have been injured or in a serious accident, please call the number right here or email us. Also, we don't want you to hesitate. We're just one phone call away.
Jerry Coleman here. I've been a client of the law offices of Michael A. Friedman for well over 25 years now. From motor vehicle accidents to other tort-related issues, 410-363-6848. or find them on their website at maflaw.com.
I'm retired now, but I was an Orioles home run. Grand slam, actually. Took a sweet ride right into the flag court, and it was awesome. Could be awesome for you, too. If you play Home Run Riches from the Maryland Lottery, you could win instantly, or be a contestant of the game and win $500 for being selected, $500 for every Orioles home run, and $5,000 for every Grand Slam. Sounds like a ball, if you ask me. Enter all season at mdlottery.com.
Wow. Did you remind him that you never wanted his autograph as a kid?
Well, he wasn't on the bus. That was past his time. But I didn't want to tell that story, you know.
He had his own car. He had his own private limo, man. Okay. Yeah, unbelievable. Pretty incredible. And those are the myths of the game, right? The Roy Hobbses of the game.
Yeah.
A quick question about being a director. And I thought about this when I look back at some of your movies and some of the incredible actors you've had to deal with, and some of my all-time favorites. And of course, De Niro being one of the great actors of all times, but so many different ranges. As a director, is it like being a big league manager? Because I just think about coming up with Tony La Russa, and he had stars all around him. And I remember that Yankees team with Joe Torre, and the whole lineup was full of stars, but he managed them, and he got them all headed in the right direction. Can you liken it to that as far as being a director and your?
It's a good point. I hadn't thought of it, Mike, but it's what you do. You have to establish a relationship with each actor, as you do in baseball, and you have to make them feel comfortable, so that you can get the best out of somebody. If you're talking to them in a way and they start getting uptight, you're never going to get the performance you need. Because if you're saying, and you got to go over and make sure that then all of a sudden your brain is going like that, and you're looking for behavioral moments, which are very small, and from one take to another. So I think it's a comfort level is very important, and I think that applies to managing, and it applies to directing of a film. And the only difference is we have a story to tell, of which we have to make sure that we've accomplished that, the progression of the story, at the same time not losing the personality of the individual that you're playing. And so there's always that balancing act of those things, because overall you are telling a story. If you tell it too slow, then it'll fall on its face. So you have to find a way to keep the rhythms of it all going and have a comfort level so that there can be moments, unexpected moments that ultimately become, classic in a way. So it's but going to what you're saying in terms of baseball, Matt, is you got to find a level where everybody is comfortable and not tension. Because if we have tension, we seldom really, do well. We tighten up, as opposed to, yes, this is a big important moment, but I got to still do it with that kind of ease of it all.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like the Orioles at the beginning of the year, just trying too hard,
Yeah,
they weren't comfortable and able to settle.
All of a sudden, nothing connects right. You don't, and so in that regard, there'd be a similarity. So
when it comes to the baseball movies, is that tops in terms of sports movies out there? Are there more baseball movies than any other sport? I don't know the answer. I'm just asking out loud. My recollection is it's that way.
It's a good question. I'm not sure, but I think so. I mean, there have been a few basketball things, but not nearly as much as baseball. And football there has been, but I don't think as many as baseball. But I think overall there's been more baseball and more different kinds of baseball movies.
Right.
So there's the slapstick version, maybe you say the mythical in terms of what the natural is doing, and there's various forms of it all. So I think baseball the most. I could be wrong, but that seems that way to me.
Do you have a favorite out of all the movies you've done?
There's storylines across a whole, long period of time. So and so, like Kirk Gibson, injured, coming to hardly walking, to be able, or Schilling in terms of the blood on the sock. I mean, there's real stories in all of that. So
Absolutely.
As far as go ahead, Bordy.
Oh no, I was actually listening to my dog talk to the man.
Well, I have a suggestion for a movie or documentary that I've tried to run by at least a dozen times, and that is about the trip we all took to Cuba in 1999 when the Orioles went and played that exhibition game over there in Havana and beat the Cuban team. It was a great game. I've tossed all sorts of ideas towards you for maybe a documentary about that trip, which you got to attend with your son, and you have a pretty cool story about that adventure.
No, it was exciting to go there, and I took my son Sam, who was about I guess maybe 11 at that time or somewhere around that, and we went down there, and the game was a remarkable game. The way they, they when they clap, they don't just go, they go like, that kind of thing. So their whole stadium is like boom, boom. And it was great atmosphere. Afterwards, we went to this kind of gatherings of the players of the Orioles and the players of the All-Star humans. And at some point, and it was also my son's birthday, so that was one of the reasons I took him down there. And then later in the evening, Castro comes in and comes over, and I was there with a couple of Orioles, and he started, talking baseball, and that he was with the Washington Senators, and he was a pitcher, and they ultimately cut him, so he went back to Cuba, and then, started a revolution, etc. Right? All of this, and Sam is there. He's hearing all the stories, a little kid, and at the end of that, we go back, and Sam goes to school, and his teacher calls, and about that she's concerned about Sam because he was, telling stories and that just don't make sense. So I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, he said he went to Cuba, but then he met with Fidel Castro and all of this stuff. And so she was concerned that he was just somehow like making up stories and everything else. And no, we actually went there to Cuba, and he did meet Castro, and Castro actually said happy birthday to him and everything else. It's all true. But she was concerned that he was just suddenly making up stories, and she was worried.
That was a very creative story. I want to know where Mike Bordick was that night as Castro was mingling with Barry Levinson and Oriole players.
I feel like I must have been there because when the team actually went and met Fidel Castro, it seemed like the whole group had to go together. It was the night after the game. We could do whatever we wanted, and I just went down and got some pretty good rum and a hand-rolled cigar. That's all I did, and ended up giving away half my gear because everybody wanted the Orioles stuff. Barely had enough to play in the game the next day. That was fun, though, man. What a great experience. You're right. That stadium, man, in the, Caribbean baseball, I think anywhere outside the United States, they bring instruments. They are fired up for their baseball. That's for sure.
Oh, it's an experience.
Yeah.
Really, in that way that they'll clap and that, and then there are a lot of, instruments periodically just suddenly filling the stadium. I mean, it was quite an event. A totally different environment,
right,
than here.
Right.
Yeah,
it was great fun. It was terrific, and for Sam, as a young kid, to experience all of that is quite fascinating. And also he said to me one day, "Why do we keep saying? Why are they so opposed to, trumpets in Havana?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, the signs that always it shows like a trumpet with a, the X through it. So why they don't like trumpets?" I said, no. That means you can't blow your horn at this location.
Right. Oh my God. Hey, this might be a little off topic. And I know jumping from Cuba to this subject is a little bit strange, but I would be remiss if I did not ask you about Robin Williams. He and I share the same birthday, and when you have that connection, you just always interested. And I love Robin Williams. I just thought he was one of the most incredible geniuses that I've ever seen, really. And for you to be able to work with him in some of these incredible movies, can you share some of your experiences with him, about him?
He was great. He was a real people person as well. He could. I'll just give you one quick story. We have a scene because he's a teacher, and we have all these Vietnamese, people in the scene, and it wasn't working well at all. It felt flat to me, and it didn't feel credible, and I just thought, this is terrible. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but the scene is a mess. It doesn't. It all seems fake. Robin's good, but the actors are not working out. And so I called a break and go outside, and I'm walking around. It was like 95 degrees. It was incredibly hot. And I'm going, what am I going to do? This is a mess. And I looked over on the porch in the background there, and Robin is talking with, like the class, and they're laughing, and then they're saying things to him, and he's doing this. And it was like lively and very, very real. Right. And I thought, and then I went over and I pulled Robin, and I said, look, why don't this, I believe this is real. This shows Vietnamese as Vietnamese. They can laugh and enjoy things and ask good questions. I said, what I'm going to do is we'll go in, and I'm not going to slate it. They won't know that we're filming. Basically the structure of the scene. And so you can kind of guide it, but let's just get the life of the Vietnamese so that we can really appreciate their personalities in this piece. And so we went in, and I set it up so that we don't slate it. We will end slate the thing so they know that they won't know when we're filming at all. And so it would be like on the porch in a way. And then I would give a hand signal to Robin, and he would start to talk, and then they would ask the question. And then, he's so facile in the way that he can handle things, and he'd say something and they'd laugh, and then they would laugh and ask him a question, and that he could keep the storyline in works. But you're getting this behavior of these people so that it was really, you felt like this is for real. And then I would indicate, okay, this is a cut. So they never knew when we were filming or not filming. And that made it real, and you get the personalities. And so it was a made up scene, but it dealt with the issues that the scene required. And then we had the scene where they're playing ball outside. And you probably wouldn't remember in the movie.
Oh, I remember.
I didn't explain anything to them how to do anything about the game. So they'll be as confused as they may be, or they understand it. And I told we had these two actors as the MPs. I said, if they run the wrong direction or whatever, you'll tell them which way to go and at first base and all of that stuff. And in the movie, there's a scene where one of the characters is pitching, and he has the melon in his hand. And he said, I have a problem that this is not, a real ball. And I said, well, look, I'm not in charge of the equipment. And he said, well, who shall I speak to? I said, Robin is in charge of all the equipment. You'll have to talk to him. And I very quickly, he said, I shall do that. He was very proper the way he spoke. And I wandered by Robin and I said, make sure he's going to come over. He's going to talk to you about the equipment problem, and just, you deal with it. And then I signaled to the camera operators to start to roll. And there's a whole sequence where the Vietnamese guy is trying to explain the melon and the size of it and all of that in Robin. And it is an actual, the problems he's having with the melon as opposed to the ball is real. And it was great fun. And then it showed them enjoying the game and everything else. And they didn't really know what to do or which way to go. And if they ran the wrong direction, I had the MPs, they'd come over and then tell them where you have to go so they can be on the right base. And it was, and I have to say, this is a long way around it, is it was Robin, because he had such a connection to people and he so cared about people and he was so compassionate with them that the scene really came alive, and it was great fun. But it showed the people as they would ask questions and be curious about things. So it was much more lively than what was on the page. And most of that is actually in that film sequence. So he was exceptional individual. I mean, he really was so outstanding as an individual, as well as an actor and a comedian. He was greatly missed.
Wow, now I'm going to have to go back and watch that scene diligently again. Good morning.
Oh, yeah.
Final question I have for you, because people are always asking me, you're big time here in Baltimore. What are you up to? What's your next project? What's on deck, as they say in baseball? Anything you can reveal?
Most things I can't, because there's still whether we're going to make them or not. In the interim, we seem to have a lot of attention about, because we with Tom Fontana, my partner, on a lot of these projects, that we're looking to do Wag the Dog as a series. And so we'll take the essence of what that was about, and with obviously new players in that, but we're looking to do that as a series. So we'll see how that progresses. Nothing happens quickly in this business.
Wag the Dog could fit into probably every news outlet anyway right now. It's going to be interesting to see this into today's world. Love it.
So we'll see what happens with that. So.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time. Very busy schedule for you, and we'll hope for better things here from the Orioles going forward. We know we got the support from you out in Los Angeles, but really appreciate you taking the time and being a part of the podcast. And we'll talk about the Cuban documentary one day down the road.
There we go. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed it, but I had a lot of fun.
Well, I'll tell you also, because you're a big Baltimore sports fan, there's a Ravens podcast I'm going to be doing down the line. So we'll have you back to talk some football as well.
Okay. I look forward to that.
All right. You be well. Thank you again.
Thank you.
The great Barry Levinson. That was fantastic.
That was so awesome, man. I mean, he's a guy you could talk to like for weeks just about the movies he's made, the actors he's met and worked with, man.
Yeah, we held him hostage for a half hour, so I felt like that was more than enough time.
More of the Bmore Baseball Podcast coming right up. It's savings season at Lido Pizza. 99-cent refreshing iced teas for spring and summer. Or $6 calzones every Tuesday. There are tons of new deals and rewards for everyone. Exclusively at LidoPizza.com or on the Lido Pizza app. Lido Pizza, a local legend since 1955. Proud partner of the Baltimore Orioles. They say it all comes back to your roots, right? At Grassroots, high-quality cannabis is in their nature. From soil to soul, their passion for cannabis and community inspires everything they do. Try your favorite strains from their cultivar library of top-shelf flower, pre-rolls, and concentrates. Whether you're cheering from the stands or chanting for the O's at home, their crafted flower helps you curate the perfect game day. Ask for Grassroots Cannabis at your favorite dispensary in Maryland. Everyone knows Greenmount Station in Hampstead, but did you know that at Greenmount Station you can bet 7 days a week just like you're at the track? With in-person teller windows and state-of-the-art touchscreen kiosks. And with Greenmount Station's brand new Bet Park Sportsbook, you can bet on all other sports as well, wherever you are in Maryland. Spreads, money lines, live bets, props, parlays, and teasers. The Bet Parks Maryland mobile app is now live for Apple and Android devices, so you'll never miss your next big score. Just search for Bet Parks MD in the Apple App Store or on Google Play. 21 and over only. Please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time.
Let's get on to For the Birds, which, of course, is sponsored by our friends over at the Maryland Lottery. Grateful for their support. You know, playing the Maryland Lottery responsibly means knowing what's true and what's not about your favorite games. Learn the facts and the myths at mdlottery.com. And please, as always, play responsibly. Bordy, what is worse for a team in terms of morale? Being no-hit over the first 6 innings in 3 of your last 5 games, which we just talked about with Mr. Levinson, or having to watch a position player pitch again? It's now twice I've seen this in person. The first time was that Reds blowout. But watching a guy in a major league setting throw a 35-mile-per-hour pitch doesn't seem all that appealing, along with being no hit for 5 or 6 innings.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, Jerry, I think when a position player has to go in a pitch for his team, that's the most embarrassing point in Major League Baseball that could happen. It should be embarrassing for the whole league, and it's unfortunate that it seems like it's on the rise with the inconsistencies in the game. I think the Orioles have already done it 3 or 4 times. So it's not fun to watch. It's like just waving the white flag, saying, we're done. You guys are way better than us. I hate it. As far as the no-hit stuff goes, what DeGrom did to the Orioles, I think, was acceptable on a no-hit stage, okay? This guy was just a master on the mound. The other guys that no-hit him for 6 innings and then another 6 innings, you wonder what is going on. And for it to happen in 3 out of their 5 games, that's when you start scratching your head and saying, this is not supposed to happen with a major league team. So you got to look from within. Adjustments have to be made. I think this team is still trying to figure out their identity, their whole team identity, to be honest with, and not just the bat. I think I've seen some spots, but this is what they've done all year long. They've shown bright spots and then they regress. So 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That's the way this team's been going. They got to find stability the second half.
Yeah, enough of these position players pitching. I don't care about Vasquez's ERA or all the double plays he's induced. It's embarrassing.
It is.
I have to watch that. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you saw that it's slow pitch baseball is what it was. I might have been able to hit one of those pitches. I don't. Maybe. All right, let's head beyond Baltimore. Maybe a drag bunt. We'll head beyond Baltimore. Brought to you by Relief Shop, Baltimore's best adult and medical cannabis dispensary with 700 plus unique menu items and home delivery always available for medical patients courtesy of Relief Shop. Rest in peace to the Cobra, the death of Dave Parker, who had a few ties to Baltimore. He was part of that We Are Family team in 1979 that fell behind to the Orioles 3-1 and then came back to win in 7. I still haven't gotten past that. Also won a World Series with the Athletics in 1989. I believe that was just before you arrived on the scene. Did you ever cross paths with Dave Parker?
I did, man. And you want to talk about just a great experience. So 88 and 89, Dave Parker was with the Oakland A's. Everybody thought it was at the end of his career. He was already a legend in the game. He had been through so much, a superstar, MVP caliber player, seemed like every year. And then the controversy that kind of followed him. So he was a larger than life kind of player. And to actually see him and walk into a clubhouse and see his presence and hear his presence on that Oakland A's team, and you think about the players that were on this team, he stood out more than any, and I think was more impactful than any player because of how he spoke in the clubhouse. Now, he had a light heart. He always meant well, but man, could he get on baseball guys the old school way. He wore Dennis Eckersley out about his little, the fanny packs they used to wear when Eckersley used to walk in the clubhouse with that. Oh my gosh. Like the loudest voice. What are you doing with that bag? Oh man, that ain't for men and all. Oh, just wearing him out. Him and Dave Stewart used to get into it. One day, Dave Parker walks away from Stewart and says, because Dave Stewart says, my son doesn't even know who Dave Parker is. He walks away and says, your son must not have a TV then. So he was like the Muhammad Ali, I guess, of baseball. That's what they say. He had great lines, but an awesome spirit. And it was so much fun to meet him and actually watch him go about his business.
Also had a cannon for an arm that gets underplayed, man. But the nickname, the Cobra, one of the all-time great nicknames.
How about that nickname? Now, this is the deal. The Cincinnati Cobra was the original Cobra. He was a boxer in Cincinnati, and of course, that's where he grew up. One of his trainers said, I'm going to start calling you the Cobra, man. And he was like, why? Well, there was this boxer, and he was lightning fast. And he said, when you set your hands, you are like a cobra ready to strike. And man, did he strike that baseball. When he came down on it, he came down on it hard. And that's where the Cobra came from.
Wow, that's a great story. I have another great story that I've told on the radio in the past. It was 1990, and good old Dave was in Baltimore playing with the Milwaukee Brewers. I was over at the Mount Washington Tavern that night with my cousin was staying with us that summer. And I remember him trying to pick up on my cousin. So much so that somehow he obtained the phone number to our house And I'll never forget the next day when Dave Parker called the Coleman house, and my late mother, answered the phone, wondering, who the hell is this? What do you want with my niece? And she shooed him away. And I told him the story years later, and he downplayed it. But I don't know. He was only about 25 years older than my cousin at the time. But what a great memory that was at the Cobra.
Your cousin was cute, though, Jerry.
She was very cute, but a little too young for Dave at that time. So my mother put up the stop sign heavily. But rest in peace, Dave Parker. What a great career.
Sure.
He belongs in the Hall of Fame, where he will go in. Unfortunately, he won't be alive to see it. All right, Bordy, let's bring in the doc. Time for What's Up, Doc. What's Up, Doc is sponsored, of course, by the law offices of Michael A. Friedman, my personal attorneys for over 25 years. There's always a live voice when you call the law offices of Michael A. Friedman, whether it be Michael, his son, Stephen, daughter-in-law, Rachel. Granddaughter Reese won't be there, but she's doing a great job on the commercials. That number is 410-363-6848. 410-363-6848. All right, Zach Eflin, Doc, and his effing back. He was removed after one inning. He threw 28 pitches last Saturday against the Rays. He has a bad lower back, much like me, except he's a professional athlete and about 20 years younger than me. Is it alarming that a pitcher who's 31 is developing back issues at his age? And how long could this linger?
Well, obviously, we can't comment not knowing the facts. It's been listed that he's had back issues before, so it's not a first-time event. When you're talking about back issues, there's really three categories of them. There's the common ruptured disc, which we've all heard of, and that's when you get excruciating electrical pain or sciatic pain down your leg. It's just unbearable, and most of us have had it at least once. And if you actually rupture a disc when you operate on these people, you actually see a little pea-sized piece of disc material sitting on a nerve that you remove. And if you remember, a couple of years ago in spring training, I think our pitcher Cody, a big fella, had one of those. And in some ways, that's easy because it's a small surgery. You take out the ruptured part. At least short term, they do quite well. The next problem you can have is as you torque your body, golfers, tennis players, all athletes with core strength, they develop rotational arthritis on the little teeny tiny joints that we have in our spinal column. And all of that rotational stress causes what we call bone spurs as your body adapts. And they sometimes start also pinching down on the nerves that go down your leg. Or sometimes they just put pressure on the blood supply to your leg, and that's sometimes called stenosis. And that's more of a chronic issue that comes and goes. Typically, exercises, physical therapy, and some type of injection, frequently called epidural injections, quiet the inflammation, and you're only out a week or 10 days, and you're able to go back. And most veteran players have had some episode of that. Sometimes you can take what's called a Medrol dose pack, which is oral cortisone, which does the same thing.
Yeah, you wonder, Doc, if this was kind of a lingering thing, because he said he felt his back at the start of that game, and that kind of leads me to the question. In the bullpen. He said he felt his low back, and then he just, I guess, individually thought, I'm going to man up for the team and try to get as far as I can to save the bullpen. Well, what are your thoughts on that? And I didn't think that happened anymore in baseball. That's an old school trick right there.
And it didn't save the bullpen, by the way.
No, not at all.
Well, there's a couple things a little concerning about that. First of all, it's usually an excuse. I'm really not sure if it's real or imaginary, but a lot of people will say, oh, we were on the road, the bed was bad, the air conditioning was too high, the plane ride hurt me. But he's been home for the last week, so that's not a good explanation. I will say I never saw him in the training room last year, ever. And so he's not a training room hound who kind of nitpicks a lot of stuff. So I suspect if it was bothering him, it really was. I suspect he's had some chronic back arthritis. Maybe he's pitched through it, maybe he hasn't. But more likely than not, this is a mild to moderate arthritic change, probably a little spinal arthritis. And again, as I said, if they're going to do the epidural, they should do it now because you got to rest for about 4 or 5 days afterwards. And they're usually pretty effective. I had severe sciatica and I thought I was heading for surgery. And about 4 days after my shot, I felt essentially 100%. I know, Mike, have you ever had your back shots?
No, I haven't. Not yet. Knock on wood, Doc.
Well, that's something to look forward to, Mike. You haven't experienced everything
I
yet.
don't want it, man. No more shots for me, Doc.
Okay.
Well, Doc, thank you. Hopefully this is not long-term. Dr. Michael Jacobs, our What's Up, Doc segment, brought to you by the law offices of Michael A. Friedman. And we want to thank all our sponsors out there for their loyal support.
They say it all comes back to your roots, right? At Grassroots, high-quality cannabis is in their nature. From soil to soul, their passion for cannabis and community inspires everything they do. Try your favorite strains from their cultivar library of top-shelf flower, pre-rolls, and concentrates. Whether you're cheering from the stands or chanting for the O's at home, their crafted flower helps you curate the perfect game day. Ask for Grassroots Cannabis at your favorite dispensary in Maryland.
Hello, my name is Reese Friedman, and I'm the daughter of Stephen L. Friedman and Rachel Friedman, and the granddaughter of Michael A. Friedman. Now, the law office of Michael Friedman's firm has been going on for over 35 years. If you or a loved one have been injured or in a serious accident, please call the number right here or email us. Also, we don't want you to hesitate. We're just one phone call away.
Jerry Coleman here. I've been a client of the law offices of Michael A. Friedman for well over 25 years now. From motor vehicle accidents to other tort-related issues, 410-363-6848, or find them on their website at maflaw.com.
I'm retired now, but I was an Orioles home run. Grand slam, actually. Took a sweet ride right into the flag court, and it was awesome. Could be awesome for you, too. If you play Home Run Riches from the Maryland Lottery, you could win instantly, or be a contestant of the game and win $500 for being selected, $500 for every Orioles home run, and $5,000 for every grand slam. Sounds like a ball, if you ask me. Enter all season at mdlottery.com.
At Pappas Restaurants, we've been serving up Maryland's best crab cakes for over 5 decades, and now we make it easier than ever to get your favorites. With 4 restaurants and sports bar locations across Harford County, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County, you can stop in for fresh seafood, ice-cold drinks, and wall-to-wall TVs. But if you can't make it in, don't worry. We'll bring Pappas to you. Our new state-of-the-art shipping and commissary location on Bel Air Road in Nottingham means you can pick up fresh-made meals or have our famous crab cakes and seafood shipped anywhere in the country. Dine in, pick up, or ship nationwide. However you Pappas, we've got you covered. Order now at pappascrabcakes.com. It's saving season at Lido Pizza. 99-cent refreshing iced teas for spring and summer, or $6 calzones every Tuesday. There are tons of new deals and rewards for everyone, exclusively at LidoPizza.com or on the Lido Pizza app. Lido Pizza, a local legend since 1955, proud partner of the Baltimore Orioles. Everyone knows Greenmount Station in Hampstead, but did you know that at Greenmount Station you can bet 7 days a week just like you're at the track? With in-person teller windows and state-of-the-art touchscreen kiosks. And with Greenmount Station's brand new Bet Park Sportsbook, you can bet on all other sports as well, wherever you are in Maryland. Spreads, money lines, live bets, props, parlays, and teasers. The Bet Parks Maryland mobile app is now live for Apple and Android devices, so you'll never miss your next big score. Just search for Bet Parks MD in the Apple App Store or on Google Play. 21 and over only. Please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Shop Maryland's largest adult use and medical cannabis menu located at 1114 Cathedral Street in Baltimore, with medical delivery available throughout Maryland 7 days a week. Only at Relief Shop. Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time.
Also want to thank senior executive producer Chip Franklin for putting this latest episode together. You know, summer is here, which means Chip is back to stealing ice cream from the neighbors, especially the kids.
Nerd.
I know you are, but what am I?
You're an idiot.
I know you are, but what am I?
I know you are, but what am I?
Be kind, be real, and make sure to be back next week for the latest episode of the Bmore Baseball Podcast.
Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.